Rain on my face, mud up to the wheels, three runners looking right through me like I was a signpost. That's how it started the day my life turned a corner. I didn't see coming, the day one stranger decided I wasn't invisible. I was tilted left in my chair, motor whining like a tired dog, my caregiver 30 feet away, arguing into his phone, and I kept thinking, great Eli Whitaker, big tech guy, stuck in a puddle like a traffic cone. I shouted for help, voice small against the storm. A neon jacket cruised past, a white visor, gave me the polite look, and kept moving, and I felt the sink inch by inch like the earth had hands. Then she stepped off the path without even checking the depth red jacket, scrub pants, white canvas sneakers with pink laces, and the mud swallowed those shoes in one bite. She didn't flinch. She just said, "We're getting you out, sir," and I said, "I'm Eli," and she said, "I'm Lady," and she braced behind my chair like the ground owed her money. On three, she said, "You work that joystick, even if it does nothing." And we pulled the whole park for an inch, then another. The chair sucked free with a sound I still hear in my sleep. The wheels kissed pavement, and we both stood there breathing like we'd hauled a car out of a ditch. Her phone was dead, her shoes were ruined. The rain was still mean, and I felt this punch of responsibility. You know what I mean? Like every bad thing that touched her that minute belonged to me, so I said, "Please let me repay you, at least let me get you home." And she hesitated because people like us have learned that strings are real. Then she nodded, and I watched her car pull away, and knew in that weird quiet after a crisis that three people had passed me, and one had stopped for both of us. I called her 3 days later because the chair was in the shop, and my pride was in the shop, too. I told myself I was just replacing a phone and a pair of sneakers, but when she answered soft hello like she wasn't sure it was really me, I heard a person who did the right thing without a committee vote, and I asked her to coffee. The place smelled like cinnamon and second chances. She held a paper cup with both hands, like warmth could fix more than it can. I fumbled the casual speech I'd practiced and said the truest thing. "Instead, I want to offer you a job." She blinked like, "Come on," and I told her the truth. "Gerald handles my medical care, but I need someone I trust to run the rest of my life. Scheduling calls, fires that need water. Not gasoline, someone who doesn't look away." And she told me about her real life, 3 jobs, a 16-year-old brother she's raising since their mom passed, rent that eats you for sport. And I slid a folder across the table with a number and benefits and time off, plus, yeah, a college fund for her brother. I'd steward until he needed it, and she said, "That's too much," and I said, "It's what the work is worth, and it's not pity. I don't do pity, I do respect." And she laughed, half sob, half relief, and said yes. Week 1 at the house should have been awkward. It wasn't Nicole. My physical therapist walked her through the real kitchen, and not the one guests see, Paul. The chef slid a labeled container across the counter, like he'd known her for years. Gerald gave the practical briefing, transfers, van quirks, backup plans. I showed her a small office upstairs. We'd set up over the weekend, twin monitors, a clean desk, a door that actually closes. She touched the chair like it might be rented, and I handed her a box with the exact same sneakers she'd sacrificed, white with pink laces, and she closed her eyes for a second, so gratitude didn't spill someplace she couldn't mop it up. "You pay attention," she said. And I said, "It's my only marketable skill," and she laughed for real. We built a rhythm color-coded calendar because my brain likes order, and the world likes chaos, dressed up as vision triage on email, like a field medic with a whistle garden lunches. When Baltimore wasn't trying to steam us alive, her asking great questions about accessibility like she actually cared, not nodding for the sake of it, me telling her the difference between features that win press and tools that make it possible for someone to work a computer with their voice And somewhere in the middle of budgets and vendor calls, she said, "My brother's math teacher is going to faint when he sees this tuition letter." And I said, "Good, let him fall in the right direction for once." Friction showed up with expensive shoes and a cool smile. My business partner, Vincent, numbers and projections, glances that slid past Lady like she was furniture, polite words that meant stay in your lane. And when he left, she exhaled and said, "He doesn't like me," and I said, "He doesn't know you." And I meant it mostly. Then the heat came like a dare. Her apartment. AC died. The repair guy lied. She showed up, wilted. I said, "Pack a bag. You and your brother are staying here until it's fixed," she said. "We can't." I said, "You can, and you will. I have more rooms than reasons not to," and that night, they moved into the guest wing, trying not to leave footprints. Tyler was in the kitchen with Paul the next morning, learning knife skills and trash, talking me at Mario Kart. By afternoon, dinners got louder. Laughter found corners of the house that had been quiet too long. And after the dishes with the fountain clapping softly in the garden, she asked if I ever regretted it. The accident, the chair, the reroute. And I told her that when I'm tired, I sometimes do, but mostly the chair stripped away the folks who only liked the performance version of me. And then she said, "I like you, not the money, not the house, you." And I said, "Okay," because every other word felt too small, and we let our hands find each other and stay found. Going public wasn't a strategy, it was a leak that became a river. We kept work hours clean and evenings messy. Nicole caught us kissing in a hallway and just laughed, finally. We were all waiting, and Vincent cornered me later with the memo voice, "Optics, power, dynamics, investors." And I said, "I won't build a company that treats kindness like a liability." And he said, "Don't say I didn't warn you, That happened. The hit piece landed in a business magazine in October profile, with a grenade tucked inside unnamed sources, gold digger. Former hourly worker now living in the boss's mansion. Question marks, sold as questions. Lady locked herself in the smallest bathroom in the house. Because sometimes you need a room that won't echo your doubt back at you. Reporters camped at the gate. The comments did what comments do. And she said, "Maybe Tyler and I should go home. Put space between us and the fire." And I said, "No, too fast, like a kid." And she said, "What if they're right? What if I let myself want this because you make everything easier?" And I asked her 2 yes or no questions. That matter more than spin. Do you love me? Yes. Do I love you? Yes. Then the rest is weather. We did a press conference because sometimes silence is a luxury you don't have. We told our story plain, the storm, the mud, the shoes, the coffee, the job, the policy line. When we started dating, her promotion to a real role with a real remit, reporting to our COO, and not me specifics, because vague praise is easy to dismiss. Disability advocates backed us, school partners. She'd charmed, spoke up. Vincent called that night and said I was wrong, and I made him say it twice so I could save it for a bad day. Winter gave us the proposal, white lights in the sycamore's snow, beginning like it had read the script. Tyler grinning behind Nicole and Paul and Gerald. My speech shorter than planned, because my hands were shaking. You didn't just pull me out of the mud. You pulled me back into a life I want to live. Will you marry me? She said. Yes, like the word belonged to both of us. We kept the wedding simple garden in May, vows that weren't poetry, but were true. Her brother walked her down the path with that proud, trying not to cry face, and somewhere between dinner and the second dance, I remembered the first 5 minutes of all this, and felt something close like a chapter turned. Now the part that will light the comments up. 2 enterprise clients hinted they'd feel better if Lady stepped back until after the wedding. Family values, reputational risk, the subtext wasn't subtle. We ran the numbers, said, no, took the hit, privilege helps you take that kind of stand. I know, but we drew a line anyway. Not saying everyone should, saying we did, and I can live with that. So here I am, a year and change from a rainstorm, telling you that 3 people walked past me and 1 stopped. That looking away is the easiest muscle to build and the hardest one to unlearn. That love and policy can sit at the same table if you make room. Tell me what you think. Was Vincent right about optics and power? Or were we right to bet on transparency and boundaries? Should a boss ever date someone who used to report to them? If the structure changes and it's out in the open, would you have taken those contracts or walked away like we did? And bigger than us, when you see someone stuck in real mud, or the kind you can't photograph, do you stop? Drop your take, your story, your yes or your no hit. Like if you think kindness should be policy, not luck. Subscribe if you want more messy, true stories told, without the spin, and tell me where you stand, because I'm still listening and I'm still learning.